Dr. Bart Rademaker, and this is Prescription for Your Transformation. Real people, real conversations, and real success. Tapping into that authentic genius that's inside all of us so that you can live the life that you desire. So I talk a lot about what it is that we can actually do, for ourselves. And I focused a lot on the mental aspect of perspectives, meanings, identity, our beliefs and values. But none of that really matters unless you have a physiology that's really functioning well. You know what? If your body's not feeling good, guess what? Everything else goes into the tank. And so what's really important for all of us, basically because of the lifestyle that most of us are living today, has a very negative effect on our bodies. And what we need to do is we first need to understand, what's going on. And I'm super delighted because, I've been on this adventure for many years into figuring out how to harness the potential of the body to restore form and function. And I was so surprised when I met this genius who understands so many more things that perhaps I do about how the body functions and what is it that we really need to know. And so I'm super excited, to be talking to Kari Brown, brilliant individual who's going to have a huge impact on our planet, basically because of her passion to help others understand what it is that they need to know about their bodies. Kari, thank you for joining me.
Well, thank you. That was quite the intro. I feel a little flushed right now. Yeah, gosh, where do I start? This has been a big journey for me. It's been weaving in and out for 20 plus years or more of my life because of things that happened with my family, things that have happened with me, times where I felt like I didn't have options, and then I got curious and said, wait, do I believe that? Do I believe I don't have options? Do I believe I don't have a way of figuring out what may have gone on with a family member or what's going on with me? So I'm grateful for my curiosity. It's always fun, occasionally gets me into trouble. But it's, for me, the very simple statement of you can't manage it unless you can measure it kept resounding. And I know we're all trying to do really well, and there's a lot of people talking about what works. But what I continue to find time and time again is there is no one thing that works 100% for anyone all the time. And I always use the example to say, you could line up 20 people that have a hypothyroid issue. And if you really understand root cause, the process you're going to go through to understand what landed each one of them there is likely going to be pretty unique for each one. You're going to find commonalities here and there, but there's so many things that can stack together, and it's not the same scenario for everyone. So for me, that's where I got so fascinated and like, okay, well, let's break this down to what I call first principles. And this is, what are the most fundamental truths? And for me, one of the biggest fundamentals was like, where have we disconnected from an ancestral sort of what our body has literally evolved and adapted how to work, like what it wants, nutrient levels, what does it need to operate efficiently? So where have we disconnected for that? Where have we added in things? But beyond that, like, where can we get a quick insight on getting visibility? Like, where we know, is what we're doing working? Is it not working? Because I think we're all largely aware when we don't feel good. But I think the bigger question is, I really truly believe that most people don't understand how good they can feel. That they, even when they are feeling good, that's not actually, that's a baseline, right? That is no understanding of really what true vitality feels like. And each time you take a step forward and you realize, and I've done this even more so in the last probably 5 years of my life, you hit these new levels. And there's truly nothing better than feeling better. Like every single moment, and you think, wow, can I feel better than this? And then you realize you can. And it's not some, like sky opening thing, but when you don't have to get through your day without being tired, like the mindset of, actually saying, I should go for a hike, or I should go do this because I know it's good for me. How about I want to go for a hike because I feel like my body is like wants to go do cool things, right? It wants to be used. And so I started diving into my own biomarkers because I wanted to understand what was going on, because I like data. I'm come from a design and engineering background. I am one of the citizen scientists that exists now in the world. There's a lot of us. And I'm like, okay, fine. I don't like somebody just doing labs on me and telling me everything looks fine. I want to understand. So I started quickly seeing that regardless of what was going on, there was kind of a list of maybe 10 to 15, and I'm still sort of sorting through those, biomarkers. And some are on some of the basic labs that we get from our primary care physicians, but a lot of them aren't. And we can talk more about why they aren't, but they should be, because they are absolutely fundamental to getting visibility on a cardiovascular level, on a metabolic level, on a toxin level, on just really core pillars. Where are we? And I think they're things that people have every ability to understand. They're not hard. And I equate them a lot to understanding your FICO score, right? Like, at least for US people, they know it's your credit score, and most people know what it is. And majority of people know that 300, maybe not so good, 650, 700 better. But the question is, if somebody wants to improve upon that, say, why do I have a 300? I don't know. What got you there, right? You got to crack your credit report open and dive into the details, and then you can start constructing a plan on working your way toward improving those numbers. This is the same thing.
So where do you think people are today? And the reason, and I want to jump in right now, because from my perspective, for hundreds of years, there was no knowledge about health and physiology and anatomy and all these things. And then over the last, say, 100 years, there were only a select few people, doctors typically, who had some semblance of understanding of what it was that caused, disease and everything else. It was very limited. And then fast forward to, say, like the 70s, where in essence, patients kind of abdicated their responsibility to the doctors, and they were all responsible. And so we're kind of hardwired in societies, most societies, to basically not have that responsibility to our own health, and being quite either misled or confused as to the opportunity. And basically what you're saying now is that, what, if you feel that you've been hypnotized to feel a certain way, because that's what all the media is telling you, you're going to get old, you're going to have achy joints, you're going to have indigestion, here, just take this pill. And now you realize, hang on a second, I don't have to accept that. I can actually feel like I'm on top of the world. And quite frankly, I could probably, climb halfway, Mount Everest.
Yeah, that's it. And I wanted to piggyback on two things you said. There's a learned helplessness that through cultural evolution has really done a lot of, I guess you could say, damage. And so we need to start peeling that back. And it's evolved over a period of time. But if we think about the changes that cultural evolution has had on us, that impact has been far faster and far greater than anything from a evolutionary natural selection ever did. And we really have to recognize that. And we're in a place of wanting someone else to give us a simple fix. And gosh, I wish all this stuff was simple. It doesn't have to be overwhelming, but it is nuanced. And it takes a different mindset of saying, look, we're not just going to treat the symptom. And I don't want to put that in a bad light either. We should be grateful. We are unfortunately in a situation where we've created a lot of chronic illness, where if we didn't have some of these pharmaceuticals, we would be suffering far more. But that shouldn't be the goal, right? And in an acute situation, I'm glad there's certain things out there that would save me should I be in a bad situation. But to move away from that thought process and into one of, okay, maybe we have to get your symptoms down because they're, they could be life-threatening, they could be, very debilitating, but then how do we get underneath what got you there? And that's where the conversation of medicine used to be at one point in time, a long time ago. And it's a much bigger conversation where I'd have to borrow, everybody else's time to get through that. But there is a huge pool of incredible physicians out there. This is not a, woo-woo sort of, back kitchen kind of thing. But the interesting part is if you look back at traditional ancestral groups and societies and ways, they knew so much more than we know now. They were so much smarter, right? They understood what created strong humans. They understood what fed them. They understood what pulled them back, right? And they were so much more connected to the earth and us. And we are sterilized from that life now. And to say that that has not had an impact on us, I think would be very blind and quite remiss.
Right.
And we've also got abilities right now that are coming through. And I know you know some of them, like the fact that we have regenerative, technologies like stem cells and different processes, and the leveraging of using peptides, which are just a molecule the body recognizes. It is incredible for healing and regeneration. I think it's pretty cool that we live in a world where those are accessible, because we've also created a world where they're more necessary. So, two sides of a coin. So being in today's world's not all bad, but we just have to understand, like, how do we start reestablishing a relationship to what actually supports the body on a bioavailable level? And hey, cool, if you've got the baseline and your biomarkers are good and you've got a good foundation,
Right.
I'm all for leveraging the newer technologies. I do some of it myself. Because I want to be vibrant. I want to live a beautiful, long, healthy, active life until the day I don't, right? This is just go to sleep and wake up.
And that's something that we should all aspire to. And as we wrap it up, by the way, one thing, that absolutely comes to mind is that, why we've evolved into why this species of the humans has evolved is because of our cognitive abilities. And it's those very cognitive abilities that created the Industrial Revolution starting about 200 years ago. And quite frankly, it's what's given us all this technology, allowed us to overcome all these other, species and obstacles. However, it's the very thing that's putting us in danger as well. And so having that new technology, that new insight and awareness is actually what will help us, because technology today, and for all purposes, can be very harmful for us. And we need to have that new awareness, as well as, being accountable for, our own health, and not simply abdicate that role to someone else and just do what they tell us to do, because that's not going to help us. So,
Yeah, well, it becomes like being very actively involved in your own path, not just your physical path, your health path, just your life in general. Like, we've got to step back in and be part of that process.
Because it's possible.
Yeah.
We need to know what is possible within us. And as you and I, have discussed many times before, I mean, there's a 10x within us. Some people even say there's a 20x within us. And you don't have to die old, right? You can just die with tremendous, you can go to the end of your time with great vitality and energy and fulfillment, and have a greater impact on this world. I know that you're going to do that. I think you're on this amazing journey that is going to be incredibly impactful because of your passion and all the connections that you're making. And so I feel very blessed that I know you. I'm going to give you the last word, Kari.
Well, first of all, thank you. And our connection was one of those beautiful serendipitous connections that I have no doubt happened exactly when it needed to happen. So I am beyond grateful for all the conversations we've had and the things that I know we will collectively advance moving forward. The last thing I want to say is really around aging. And it's quickly because I feel like we've made age wrong. And we're moving forward in what aging means. But one of the tools I use in talking to people about what's possible is a lot of times people ask me, like, well, then how old are you? And I say, I'm 49. And I often get some pretty surprised faces. And I'm always very grateful that people are surprised that I'm 49. But at the same time, I say, I appreciate that and I thank you, but I am 49. So this is what 49 looks like. And I'd love us to shift, not just from an outward appearance, right? Let's redefine what health looks like. This is 49. There should not be this view that it's a broken down body already at this point in time in our life, right? That we need to redefine that. And also not make, especially for women, make age wrong. Not make it like, I don't want to be this age because there's something wrong with being that age. Because I say all the time, I would not ever want to trade the 49 years I have. I have 49 years of successes, of failures, of stories, of adventures, of meeting people, of collaborations and experiences. And all of that has landed me in this exact conversation that we're having right now and will continue to carry me forward. So I think we need to simultaneously look at revaluing age, because we've made it such a negative, and it's not. Like, we should valuing our elders, valuing wisdom, valuing experience. It, to me, is a parallel path with all of this.
Thank you so much, Kari. It's all about staying young, and we have that, availability for all of us. Just have to be smart. You have to figure out what you need to know. And you and I will continue this conversation on this platform and many other platforms. I know you have a lot of cool things that are coming up, and I'm not going to divulge any of them. That's going to be yours to determine. But everybody listening, you really want to keep tabs on Kari. She's an incredible human being, and she's a world changer. I'm Dr. Bart Rademaker, Prescription for Your Transformation. Real people, real conversations, and real success. And I'll talk to you soon. And I'll be back with Kari about the next steps that you're going to want to take when it comes to finding out those biomarkers. Thank you so much, Kari.
Thanks.
Thanks for joining us on another episode of Dr. Rademaker's Prescription for Your Transformation. Continue the path towards discovering your own authentic genius by tuning in next time for more real conversations with real people.